but I cannot live stream it.
Okay, great.
Cool. So this is the progress update of September 19th for WGDP. Cool. My question was the business registry. You saw that as a possible first use case. Can you elaborate a bit on business registry in a special economic zone?
Yeah, well, maybe I'll take that one on, Nolan.
Sure.
So, choicefully not using any potential customer names, Sid.
For sure not.
As we got to know one of these new, an entrepreneur who's basically starting to look into creating a new city in another country in Africa. What we learned that the tact that they're thinking for that city in terms of like building it out, like what order things would go in, what roadmap, will look a little bit different from Ninkwashi, and like very much starting. Basically, if you ask Ninkwashi, like they got a strong belief that education and a university needs to be a primary anchor tenant. This other potential customer is basically coming at it from a technology company perspective, and so in theory would try to do a similar anchor tenant strategy, but through bringing in and or domiciling a number of large technology companies there. So basically getting people to kind of like put some of their employees in this new community. If that's the case, a lot of the early like support that this entrepreneur might need as he's basically trying to grow interest in the community is going to be all of the interactions that the community or the city or the municipality has with businesses. How do you sign up a business? How do you license it? How do you hold information around that business? And what types of registration regulation and payments are required kind of through that. So that was that's what that's about.
Yep, I hope this that's going to be super successful. I think for now, I'm assuming that there's a chicken and egg problem. If you start a new city, there's nobody there. I think people will be so much easier to convince to join than a business, because to convince a person, just want a place there where decent to live, want a nice house in a nice environment with good city services. That stuff we can just provide. As a business, I want a whole lot of talent. I want security and certainty about all of my like that registration and my licenses and everything else.
Yeah.
And if not, I have a major problem. So I think it's going to start with people.
Yeah, and we get that perspective, and I think that certainly working closely with Ninkwashi, we're seeing the growth that they're getting coming from that perspective, and so that's cool. But yeah. Understanding customer needs, like that.
Maybe say like talent, like the people that work and the businesses go hand in hand. But because of all remote, you now get to the businesses can be someplace else. So that's if something is going to work, that's much more likely to work.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Sid, one thing just to so that we're not talking past each other in this case, I think one thing that this entrepreneur was considering as a real competitive advantage for the city is that it already has a administrative easement on a visa that's already set up by the national governments. And so one of the things that the city can offer that most cities in Africa cannot is access to the entire African market that can import talent from anywhere in Africa, actually anywhere in the world.
Yeah, that is big. That is like the original idea of what I love about charter cities, that you can offer a better alternative to people irrespective of what country they're from. So that's pretty big.
And so I think one of the biggest differences between how this city is evolving and how Ninkwashi is evolving is that I think Ninkwashi is starting by thinking about building critical mass of people, and then they have forays with the national and regional governments, but don't have agreements in place. This city is almost working in the opposite direction, where there are agreements in place about the administrative responsibilities or administrative differences in how this city can be run than other cities in this country, and therefore has a different sort of competitive advantage in terms of how it might think about growing. So, and I don't know, that's not to say that I think that you're incorrect in terms of your assumption of where it's going. I just wanted you to be aware that some of the legal infrastructure that affects how the city is growing is a little bit different in this case, and I think may actually cause things to be on a slightly different track.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good. I didn't realize, I forgot about the visa thing, and that's awesome. I think my takeaway is not so much that we're betting against this structure, like we should provide services. It's just that I don't think it should be the business registry should be a focus of our development efforts.
Right, and there's certainly no effort that we're putting into this right now. All of this is a little bit premature at this point. It's just anticipation.
Yeah,
but
I saw possible first use case, so that's what I'm responding to.
And right, and then, but he is expecting to have people moving in 2020. So it's really it's hopefully going to come fast and furious.
Yeah, let's hope they need access control.
Yeah. Yeah. Also true. Yeah.
Great. Urban planning. It's all about land. You want to be involved in San Francisco planning. I'm not recommending it, but you do what you want to do. Awesome that you're flying to Zambia.
What is your thinking on just on that thought? Like, one of the things that sort of came to mind is, like, would participation in local government be a cultural touchstone of the company? Is that something that we should be encouraging? And you say you're discouraging of San Francisco. What's your of participating in San Francisco government? What's your thinking there?
Well, look, there's going to be a lot of priorities, and our focus should be customers. Like, just make our customers successful. So, I think the only two things that matter, and they say in YC, is shipping code, writing code, and talking with customers. So San Francisco is not going to be a customer for a very long time. So I wouldn't talk with them. I would spend all my time talking with customers. And if you're done talking with customers, ship code. So yeah, I think we know enough about the market. Everything comes at an expense. If you could be designing mock-ups for the land registry in that time, I would focus on that.
Okay.
Yeah. I like, by the way, that YC has that perspective. I'm not sure I would have known that they would have put customers as at that high level of respect.
Yeah. No, because that's how you're going to get feedback. So you ship code, you talk with the customer, you figure out what to build next. They recently added also workout, like take care of your body, because people start working crazy hours.
Interesting.
But as what the priority should be, everything, they really discourage like going to conferences, taking coffees with people. Those are the typical failure modes.
Interesting.
Is there a blog post more about that, Sid? It seems, I'm just kind of curious if there's something that a good way to sort of come up to speed more on the thinking around that.
Exercise. Let's see if I can find it.
Oh, you don't need to search Google if that's I didn't know if you knew of a place that it already exists.
Yeah, they say write code, talk to users.
Yeah.
Avoid conferences unless they are the best way to get customers.
I like it. There's your exercise.
Yep.
Cool.
So I'll link this in the show notes. No, not in the show notes. So no,
Thank you, Sid.
yeah, and I think for now it's our focus. Our focus almost should be like, let's make November. We only have a few weeks. Like, let's make the November rollout a success. That is crucial. So almost like try to roll it out now already, so that you're there to solve problems, but that you don't have to start the rollout. It's the time is going to pass through your hands like sand.
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly the thinking. And in fact, the update from this morning is that we're planning to do our first rollout in 2 weeks. So we'll come to that later in the agenda. But
that is November 4th. That is when you're already there, right?
No, October.
Oh shit, we have a month more. I forgot. It's October. Wow, first rollout 2 weeks. That's amazing. That's great.
Security rolls out.
Sorry, what did you say?
The security part of the platform, man. Looking good.
Great.
Yeah, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that. That's from the call with Ponisa this morning. So just an update since we sent the video last night. But let's keep going.
Cool. You're going there in November, not October. Thanks. Planning for customer council.
Yeah, I don't know how tough your schedule is going to be over the next month, but my goal is to get you, me, Nolan, Mark Lutter, and Muya to do basically a first customer council meeting in October. It's probably just going to be a single 90-minute call that I'll facilitate to talk really kind of at the strategy level and have an opportunity for all of us across that set sort of talk a little bit about roadmap from a customer's perspective in advance of us doing some really great customer research. We're going to also reach out to to this other potential customer and just kind of let them know what we're doing and the progress we're making with Inkwashi. And a month or two down the road, I would love to have another person on this thing. And so as he grows that thing up, I want to let him know that I'd really like to stay closely involved with him.
Cool.
How tough do you think it's going to be to schedule you, Mark, and Muya together next month?
I don't know. Ask Sherry.
All right. They do magic things.
Cool.
Mark, Muya is going to be in the U.S. too, so that should make it a little bit easier.
Cool. And then there's the advisory board. I think it's very early. I think the longer we wait, the better people we can get. So I don't see. We'll need it at some point, kind of but at this point, this should just be a very tight feedback loop between the customer and us, and to make something that's worthwhile. If we're at 10,000 users, we start needing people to kind of prevent making big mistakes. There's something to guide and to protect at that point. Right now, we have nothing to lose, so there's not much to advise on.
Okay.
Repo now source available. Awesome. Link. Payroll for fully remote, non-US people. In the beginning, they're going to be contractors. And then as we have more and more people in a certain country, we might incorporate that.
So is that have you guys incorporated in a few places?
Yeah, like 6 or 7 now.
Yeah. And then otherwise, you mostly have contractors?
Yeah. But there's also services like Safeguards that help with that. And you can have their contractors built to them. But in the beginning, we can just take that risk ourselves.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
I saw something about wikis in Google Docs. It was in the context of government that's open to change. I thought it was interesting to share why I don't think wikis scale. And it's because you don't have a difference between the person suggesting something and approving something.
Because it can just all go in, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so wikis grow like weed in the beginning, like really fast, but you need to continually refactor. And to refactor something, you need changes on multiple pages. Most wikis, you can't even propose a change on multiple pages. And for sure, you want a split between the person proposing the change, like mostly ICs who have more time, and the person approving it, mostly leadership, tend to have less time.
Yeah, Sid, I 100% agree with that. And it's partly, it's that parallel of the merge request that made me interested in it. Because I think that the thinking here, and all of this is more just sort of abstract. So I don't even know that it's worth sort of taking too much time here. And I don't know if you would like us to share these kinds of thoughts in this forum.
Totally cool.
Yeah, so this is more just sort of thinking in abstract about the way that hundreds or thousands of people participate in pulling together a plan, and a plan that needs to meet all sorts of legal requirements and and also has very different goals that may be in mind, right? There are some people in the city who have one particular goal, and other people in that very same city who would have completely the opposite kind of goal. So thinking about how do you circulate a plan, how do you get people to have input, and the way it's done today, at least in the reading that I'm doing on urban planning, is very much through sort of these committees and organizing people to come in and talk, and like there are mail surveys that go out. So just the inspiration here was, if we have an app in the hands of everybody in the city, what are the multiple different ways that we can encourage and require, in some cases, civic engagement around those kinds of plans, so that the planning process itself can become more efficient and effective.
Yeah,
that's just kind of the central question, and I like the idea of a merge request much better than a wiki, for exactly the reason that you're talking about.
Just make a GitLab Pages website, and then people can just submit MRs. It's and the platforms, I've seen now so many platforms for civic engagements. Like it's not a business. It's not super helpful to people. We should not be in that business, as far as I'm concerned, for a very long time.
Okay.
It's, I'm not a strong opinion, loosely held, but like it feels like a technological solution to a social problem. So, but we want to solve problems that like people are jumping up and down about, like having to have 10 security guards around and needing access control. That's a pain. Like we want to be solving pain, not well, I don't want to say. I've seen just a lot of civic engagement startups, let me tell you that. So that's a very natural thing. It's like a social network for pets. Like it's just not, it doesn't land you anywhere. And I've also not seen any of them work in practice. So I don't want to go there. And I think most people, you tend to attract the wrong people. You tend to attract people that want to argue. Most people just want to live in a good place and want a parking spot for their car in a good hospital and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Cool. Feedback on demo, that's exciting. Maybe you want to verbalize that a bit?
Yeah. So the interview is recorded and we can post it. You know, we didn't get Ponisa's permission to post it on YouTube, but we could ask, and we could certainly make it available to you. If you'd like.
I wouldn't pressure him for, like, just get good feedback. It doesn't matter whether it's on YouTube or not. We're probably by default, but not if it's going to lose fidelity.
Sure, but the important thing is that he is excited to use what we have. And thinks that it will add value right away. He's doubling his staff in the next few weeks. So he thought that in a couple of weeks, it will be a good time to try rolling it out. And then there were a few places where it was a little rough around the edges, where we don't yet have a good way of adding a photo, like a profile picture in the app. So we need to create an interface for that. And we don't yet have like a good sort of login screen. We have it designed, but we don't have it implemented yet. So there are just a few sort of like cleanup kinds of things that I think we need to do. And then there was one that we talked about a little bit around vehicle registration that may or may not make the cut for the next 2 weeks, but that was, I think there's some product work. And then the main thing that he wanted was he asked for a PowerPoint deck just to help train. He wants to pull sort of 16 security guards into a room for a few hours, teach them how to use the app, deploy it. I don't think it's really so much about using the app as the sort of main thing that needs to be done, but setting the policies about when and how do you decide who to let in and when you need to escalate to Poniso versus the central office versus something along in those ways. So I don't think it's specifically app usage, but more sort of just getting clarity around all the policies. And then one of the things we discussed is whether or not we should join those trainings. I think generally the feeling was it would be valuable for us to be there. He did have some concern that people might feel a little shy and not want to speak up too much if we're there, because there are people that don't speak English natively. And also he says, if they see a non-African on the phone or on the video, sometimes that can feel intimidating.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm not sure what the best thing there is. And he seems to be very articulate in his feedback, so I don't have a preference there. And maybe in the training, it's okay to do the PowerPoint. It's the simplest thing. He asked for it. Let's do that. A thought is, let's have a flow where when I go to the app, I could just say demo somewhere, and then it gets me in a demo flow, and it walks me through all the different screens. And then we make sure that on every screen where someone is the client, there's a policy thing like, okay, what should I do now? I already saw like the call admin button and things like that. But there's room there for text. So we could, instead of like, first you train people and then they try to remember. And then when they have the thing, they should remember. Like, let's pick the text. Let's make a button there that gets you to the text, or let's let people scroll down to see what the policy is. And then in the training, walk people to that. And the training just say, hey, now let's all go to the homepage, press demo, and then go to every single part of the app. Because the cheaper it is to implement, the easier it's going to be to get it implemented. Maybe, let's not make it customizable per customer. We can do that later. But we can just put text in the app, and you can just make it a text that is valid in Enkashi, and then figure out how we're going to deal with the rest later. Non-native English speakers. Do we need a translation? Oh, Jay, you're
That's a great question. We didn't think to ask that.
Yeah, I don't think we know yet.
Cool.
I don't think we know yet.
And in what context did it came up? Maybe we can verbalize a bit.
So as we were talking about what it would be like to either support us giving the training or us to participating in the kind of walkthrough that the security guards would go through, learning the app. What Poniso talked about was that, definitely some portion of that security team is gonna be non-native English speaking, and will speak either one or several different local languages that like he'll be speaking in as he kind of like works that training through. So partially he was just telling that to us as like there would be parts of the training that we wouldn't understand. But I think the follow on in terms of like, that security team understanding the application and being able to use it is an important one too.
Cool. Yeah, I'm getting excited about this demo flow and training people that way. But let's see, personas and administrative interfaces.
These were the things that we were originally thinking about, and I think that they're now lower priority based on I think we have line of sight to getting it deployed, and probably can cut these now.
I'm glad to hear that. That sounds great. First rollout in 2 weeks. That is amazing. That's great. And Nolan, are you able to make small like text changes to the app yourself now and get it deployed?
No, I spent a good amount of time trying to get it up and running on my machine, and there's still we still are not at a place where I can run it from my machine. So it needs a little bit more time from Mark to help get it set up. And it just was not worth distracting him from writing code to sort of help get me set up. But we're going to sit down and do it sometime in the next 2 weeks so I can do it.
Yeah, it needs to happen before going live.
Yeah. I am reading through the code and able to understand what's going on, but have not yet tried pushing updates.
Yeah, and Ruby apps are notoriously annoying to set up on your own machine. Make sure you take ample notes. Also try to, take ample notes, but notoriously hard. Even GitLab is still hours to set up, which is horrible.
Yeah. I mean, there's like little things in getting the production environment installed on the machine that it's, Mark has it installed on his machine, and so it works. And then I try to install it on mine, and something about the configuration is a little bit different. And so, and so it's just, we just need to revisit it.
Cool. So, but rollout October 3, that's amazing. I'm glad we're not delaying that until the visit.
I think what's potentially good then is that like as we progress forward through October and get a couple iterations in with Boniso and better understanding of access control, actually allows us to have another level of conversations with on other potential use cases. Especially on the resident side and then communication side there, that will be richer if we're making momentum on the one.
Exactly. Otherwise, the visit is a rollout. But if you've rolled it out from the leadership there, you're going to get a ton of feature requests. From the users, you're going to get a ton of complaints. And it's going to be so much more worthwhile. You're going to have so much more fidelity.
Totally. Yeah. More exciting that way.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, let's focus on this. I need to focus on something else yet. And Nolan, are there ways in which you can contribute to this effort? Because I have the feeling that you're like not able to contribute to. I think you can code, right? Yeah. So let's just get you in there and start helping out.
Yep, that's the intent.
Cool. I'll help you get set up tonight, Nolan, if I manage to do it.
Okay.
Cool. If you have time, I don't know. Do you have any plans for tonight?
No, I'm available.
Cool. You want to come over?
Sure. Let me check. Yeah, I need to check with Betty, but probably yes.
Okay. See if it fits. It fits. Otherwise, not. But otherwise, text me if you wanna come over, and we can give it a try. I'm not sure I'll be able to set it up, but it will be fun.
Yeah. No, that'd be great. I'd love to. I want to get it up and running. So it's been. Yeah. It'll be great.
Cool. It's been a while since my last Ruby app setup. I think I can still do it. I'm gonna find out.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, this was great.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't think there's anything else that we need to cover.
I don't think so either. Nothing that's coming up for me.
Yeah, if we really get something up and running by like October 3 in Zambia from the US to deal with access control from people that have like Android Go phones, that'd be quite an achievement.
It's the plan. I certainly see some risks, so I have a little bit of trepidation. But this is also why, I mean, the risk and mitigating the risk is why we're pushing for it directly rather than trying to solve risks that we don't yet see. You know, I'd rather try and find that there's some specific barrier than wait.
But I'm really impressed. Like the default failure mode of every startup at YC, or not every, the default thing that was wrong in half of the startups in the first 2 weeks was they were not launched yet, and they were reluctant to launch, even though they've already been in business for like many months. They didn't have anything up. They were still working on it. And the first thing they ask when you come in is, "Have you launched yet?" If you say no, ask why not. And then you give a whole very elaborate explanation. Obviously, they talked about it between themselves for many months. And then they're like, "Okay, we'll launch tomorrow." And you can see like, we can do that. Yes, you can. Okay, what would it take to launch in 3 days from now? And they launched. And obviously, then you're getting real feedback, and then it's getting better. So I'm really proud and happy that the natural instinct of this team is to launch. And that is exactly the right thing. And we're probably not ready, and not every text is going to arrive, and we'll figure out bugs, and the users cannot read stuff, and it won't work on their phones. And all those things we'll encounter, but the only way to get to it is to see what's the highest priority, knock that down, and do the next one. And this all sounds super simple. I know I'm not. Eric and JJ are falling asleep, but you'd be surprised at how many times it goes wrong. So well done. Great ambition.
Yeah. Nice. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. Well, we'll see you.
Bye, everyone.
AJ, cheers.
Bye.